everyone. It's William Worley here. Thank you for tuning in. I really want to address something that appears to be a huge struggle for people. It's with being single. Being single can be really tough, especially when you put yourself out there and nobody recognizes you or finds value in you no matter how amazing you are, or you meet people that just flake on you. Now, how would the six-fingered man from The Princess Bride word this? Instead of sucking water, I'm sucking happiness. But thankfully, Wesley was able to survive the torture and recover, and you can too. So if there is anyone that is feeling lonely, depressed, and hates being single, well, I feel like I need to share this. I'm 30 years old, and I've never had a girlfriend in my life. I've never even been on a date with a woman before. I've only had one prom date, one homecoming date. I've only kissed a few girls in my life, and I've been told by many people that I'm a great looking guy and that I'm kind hearted, hardworking, intelligent, funny, and talented. And I always thought to myself, if I am any of those things, then how come it doesn't matter? Why am I often rejected by women? Or why do women choose a loser over me or someone of less value than me? For years, I used to hate being single. Like, I would rather die than being single. I would always beat myself up, assuming that there was something secretly wrong with me that I would never know what, or that God cursed me to be undesirable to women. I became bitter towards my loved ones, and I put up walls that had prevented me opportunities of joy. I would get into the woe is me act to get people to feel sorry for me. I exposed myself to pornography or sign up on numerous dating ads desperately seeking female attention. Many people, including friends and family, have given me the same speech. You just haven't found the right one. It will happen when you stop looking. You have to love yourself first. None of these ever really made sense to me. I mean, why did God create the desire of having a partner if we're supposed to be alone? How are we supposed to be happy when we are alone? The only thing that would make me happy is to be with someone. When my dog Rossi came into my life 2 years ago, I began to feel more and more loved and more important. But Rossi isn't human, and he isn't someone I can have for romantic companionship. This year, two people have inspired me to stay single and enjoy it. The first was Keanu Reeves. I came across a quote of his that said, "Someone told me the other day that he felt bad for single people because they are lonely all the time. I told him, that's not true. I'm single and I don't feel lonely. I take myself out to eat. I buy myself clothes. I have great times by myself. Once you know how to take care of yourself, company becomes an option and not a necessity." And I was blown away to see that Keanu Reeves, one of the sexiest actors in the world, was single and enjoyed it. The second who inspired me was a man named Terry Hale. I met Terry about 6 years ago asking him for a favor, and he told me that the first thought he had about me was that I was a very brave man. No one would have had the courage to ask a man of his reputation for a favor because they thought he'd say no. I've worked with Terry for many years on musical productions, and I've always found him to be a sexy guy who was a gifted director and a man with a good heart, personality, and intelligence. One day after our first performance of the musical Godspell, we had a big talk about things. Then I just randomly decided to tell him about my struggles of being single. He told me that he too had the same struggles I had once, and then he made the decision that if he is going to share his life with someone, he needs to learn to enjoy his life as well. Because no one wants to be with someone who is miserable. Terry also added that until he learns to enjoy his own company, he will not allow anyone to enter his life. So from that point on, he, like Keanu Reeves, took himself out to dinner, to movies. So it's important to know that everyone who is happily married or with someone, that they too were once miserable for being single. And it's also important to know that there are people who are miserable with their current partners because they were desperate for companionship. Now, what does it mean to love yourself? How can I not love myself? I get offended when people treat me bad and I want what's best for me. Well, think of it this way. If you had someone close to you and that person was abused, bullied, neglected, and you just allowed that to happen, not because you hate that person, but simply because you don't want to make things worse and you want to keep the peace, and you're really showing that, are you really showing that person that you love them? Well, that's the same case with you. If you allow people to harm or hurt you and allow yourself to become miserable just because you're a people pleaser or a peacemaker, then you are not showing that you love yourself or that you respect yourself. Therefore, you are not showing that you can defend your loved ones. And I know my mother loves me because she would rather die or go to jail than for me to be harmed. That's what you have to be. Are there times when I struggle with being single? Absolutely. There's times when I meet an attractive woman and fantasize about being with her, or when I'm jealous of a man being with a woman who seems to be out of their league. There's times when I am overcome by a woman's looks that it gives her the upper hand to manipulate me. It took me a long time to realize this, but my life is pretty blessed while I am single. I have a nice house with a yard and a beautiful neighborhood. I have a dog who loves me, a family who loves me, great friends who love me, and opportunities to do what I love while I am single. Thank you all for reading today. I hope that you learned something from this and that it gives you some inspiration and encouragement.